The colony on the edge of the galaxy was quiet but not peaceful. People worked in mines, in markets, in small farms, but always with whispers in the air. The whispers were about one rule, one belief. Everyone carried: aliens could not love humans. They said it was impossible. Against nature, against the stars. Themselves, Daniel, a young human worker, heard these whispers every day. He came to this colony to escape Earth's crowded cities. He thought he would find work, maybe even friends, but instead, he found cold eyes staring at him. Whenever he walked through the alien streets, the aliens saw him as different, unwanted, someone who did not belong. Sometimes the workers laughed at him, sometimes they ignored him, but the words were always the same: humans are not meant to be loved. Aliens cannot care for them. Daniel tried to stay strong. He carried heavy crates, fixed broken machines, and smiled even when no one smiled back. Yet inside he felt lonely, like he was walking through shadows every single day. One evening, as the twin sun set and the streets turned dark, Daniel noticed something strange. In the corner of the market, near the glowing lamps, he saw a figure watching him. It was a girl, but not human. Her skin carried faint glowing lines like silver rivers. Her eyes were bright, almost too bright. She did not laugh like the others. She did not whisper. She only watched. Daniel turned his head quickly, but his heart raced. Why was she looking at him? Was it pity? Was it curiosity? He could not tell. The next day she was there again, standing at a distance. He tried to ignore her, but his eyes found hers again and again. Each time she looked away, as if afraid. The whispers grew louder in the colony. People began to notice. She is strange. Someone muttered, why does she look at him? Another said the belief was strong. Aliens could not love humans, not even care for them. If she broke this rule, she would face punishment. But she still came, silent, hidden, always near. Daniel's nights became restless. He could not stop thinking about her. He did not even know her name, but her eyes carried something he had not seen in years. Gentleness. It was dangerous. He knew it. The whole colony believed in the old rule: if he even tried to speak to her, he could lose his job, his home, maybe even his life. Yet fate did not care about rules. One stormy night, Daniel worked late at the repair docks. The wind howled, lights flickered, and shadows stretched across the floor. He was tightening bolts on a machine when he felt it. Someone standing behind him. He turned, and there she was, closer than ever before. Her silver eyes glowed softly in the dim light. Her hands trembled as if she wanted to say something but could not. Daniel froze. His heart pounded. Why are you here? He whispered. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Only a soft breath escaped. Then she turned and ran into the night, leaving him staring after her. From that night, Daniel knew the rumors were not just empty words. Something was happening, something forbidden. The aliens believed they could not love humans. But this girl, this mysterious girl, had already broken the silence. She was proving something dangerous, something powerful. The next morning, the whispers in the colony were sharper. The human is being watched, they said. It is wrong. It must be stopped. Daniel walked with heavy steps, knowing eyes were on him. Yet deep inside, a spark had awakened. For the first time, he did not feel completely alone that night. When Daniel lay in his small room under the cracked ceiling, he thought of her again. He did not know her name, her story, or her reason, but he knew one thing she had. Looked at him, not with hate, not with pity, but with something else, something that made his heart believe the whispers were lies. And so the story began with one human and one alien girl standing on the edge of an impossible truth. The colony said it could not happen. The galaxy said it was forbidden, but Daniel felt it in his bones. Something was coming, something that would shake every rule, break every whisper, and prove that love was stronger than fear. Next few days passed like heavy clouds. Drifting over the colony, Daniel tried to focus on his work, lifting crates, repairing old machines, and walking the same lonely paths, but his mind was restless. His heart remembered the glowing eyes of the alien girl, the way she stood close, the way she ran away without a word. At first Daniel thought it was only a mistake. Maybe she was curious, maybe she just stared too long. But something inside told him it was more. Each evening when the colony lights dimmed, Daniel looked for her in the shadows, and each evening she was there, watching silently from the distance. One night when the stars stretched bright across the sky, Daniel walked near the old water wells. He heard soft footsteps behind him. His heart skipped. He turned slowly, and there she was again, closer than before. The faint silver lines on her skin glowed in the starlight, her eyes locked on his. Daniel swallowed hard. His voice almost failed, but he forced a word. Why? The girl's lips parted, but no sound came. She looked down, her hands trembling as if fighting a battle inside. Sorry. Finally, in a low, broken voice, she whispered, I should not be here. Her words were soft, almost lost in the wind, but Daniel heard them. They hit him harder than a stone. Then why are you? He asked. His voice carried confusion and hope together. The girl shook her head. She looked around nervously, as if the night itself had ears. They would punish me, she said. They would punish you too. It is forbidden. Her silver eyes shone with fear, but also something else, something she tried to hide. Daniel took a step closer, his heart beat wildly. What is forbidden? She hesitated, her breath quick and uneven. To feel, she whispered. To care for a human. They say it cannot happen. They say it is against our blood. Her voice cracked, and she bit her lip as if she had already said too much. Daniel stood frozen, his chest heavy. He had heard the whispers, the cruel belief, but to hear it from her lips was different. It was not just rumor, it was law, and yet here she was, breaking it, standing before him with trembling hands and a heart that betrayed the rule. Do you believe it? Daniel asked softly. For a long moment she did not answer. The night was silent, except for the wind. Then slowly she shook her head, her eyes lifted to his, shining with a secret pain. No, she breathed, because when I see you my chest feels heavy, my thoughts scatter. I cannot stop looking, I cannot stop. She stopped, her voice breaking as if the words were knives in her mouth. Daniel felt something ignite inside him, a warmth he had buried long ago. He stepped closer, but not too close, afraid she would run again. I don't even know your name, he said quietly. Her eyes widened. For a moment fear returned, but then she whispered, Liara. Her voice carried her name like a secret gift. Daniel repeated it, soft and careful. Liara. The name felt alive on his tongue, and the girl lowered her gaze, hiding a small, trembling smile. They stood in silence, but it was not empty. It was a silence full of questions, of danger, of feelings neither of them could deny. Liara took One step back, her silver eyes darting. Nervously, "I must go," she whispered. "If they find me here," Daniel nodded. Though his heart cried out, "Will you come again?" he asked. Lyra froze, her breath caught. Slowly she nodded once, then turned and vanished into the shadows of the colony. Daniel stood alone, but his chest was no longer empty. He felt something beating, stronger than fear, for the first time since he had arrived in the colony. Someone had spoken to him, not with hate, not with pity, but with honesty, with something deeper. That night he could not sleep. The image of her silver eyes burned into his mind. The sound of her trembling voice echoed in his ears. He whispered her name to himself, Liara. The next day, the whispers in the colony grew sharper. People noticed her absence. People noticed Daniel's restless steps. Something is wrong, they muttered. The human is not alone anymore. Daniel tried to ignore them, but his heart told him the truth. Something had begun. Something forbidden, something powerful. He did not know where it would lead, but he knew one thing: he would not turn away. Not from her, not from the spark that had started between them. And so the silent encounter became the first step of a dangerous path, a path that would test both their worlds, a path that would prove the whispers were lies. Because in Liara's trembling words, Daniel had already heard it. In her eyes, he had already seen it. Impossible was real, and it was only the beginning. The colony streets were restless. Whispers followed Daniel like shadows. He carried tools to the workshop, but his mind was not on the machines. It was on Lyra, her trembling voice, her silver eyes, the way she had said her name like a secret. For the first time, Daniel felt alive. But that life came with danger. Every glance from the aliens felt sharper now, as if they knew something he did not want them to. No, he tried to look normal, to act normal, yet his heart betrayed him every time he thought of her. Late one night, after another long day of work, Daniel walked back to his small living quarters. The air was cold and the streets empty. As he passed the cracked wall near his door, something strange caught his eye. The air scratched faintly into the stone was a glowing mark. Daniel froze. The mark was not random, it was deliberate, curved lines forming a symbol he had never seen before. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. He reached out his hand, his fingers tracing the soft glow. He remembered Lyra's words, "They would punish me. They would punish you." His chest tightened. Was this from her, a secret message left in the dark, or was it a warning from someone else? Daniel's heart raced. He leaned closer. The symbol was delicate, almost beautiful. The glow shimmered like the markings on Lyra's skin, and then he knew this was hers. She had been here, standing outside his room. She had left this for him. Daniel's hands trembled. He felt fear and wonder at the same time. If anyone else saw this, she would be discovered. The colony would know. The punishment would be brutal, yet she had risked it. Why? For him that night, Daniel lay on his bed, staring at the ceiling. Sleep refused to come. The image of the glowing symbol filled his mind. It was not just a mark, it was a message, a confession without words, a voice carved into stone when her lips could not speak. The next day, Daniel returned from work with a heavy decision in his heart. He carried a small piece of broken metal from the workshop. When night fell, he bent down by the same wall and scratched his own symbol beside hers. It was clumsy, rough, not glowing Like hers, but it was his answer. The moment his symbol was done, he stepped back, his chest burned with fear. What if someone saw? What if they reported him? But deep inside he also felt something else, relief, because now she would know. He was not afraid to answer her. The following night Daniel walked near the wells again. He waited, unsure. The colony was quiet, the stars glittered above. Then from the shadows she appeared. Lyra stepped forward slowly. Her silver eyes fell on him. Her breath quickened for a long moment. They only looked at each other. Then she whispered, "I saw it." Daniel's chest tightened and her trembling lips curved into the smallest smile. "And I am not alone," she said. The words broke something inside Daniel, the wall he had built around his heart for so long. He stepped closer, his voice low. "You are not." For the first time Lyra did not step back. Her glowing lines shimmered softly in the night. "Do you understand what this means?" she whispered. "If they find out, they will exile me. They will take everything from you." Daniel's jaw tightened. His voice was steady. "Then let them try." Liara's eyes widened. She shook her head. "You don't know their strength." Her voice cracked with fear. "But you answered me. You chose to." Daniel's heart ached at her fear, but he also felt pride. "I could not stay silent," he said for the first time. Lyra's trembling hands reached out only for a second. Her fingers brushed against his before pulling back. Touch was quick, fragile, but it was enough to ignite fire in both their hearts. The sound of footsteps broke the silence. Lyra's eyes filled with panic. She turned sharply, melting into the shadows. Daniel stood frozen, the echo of her touch still burning on his skin. That night the whispers in the colony grew sharper. "Strange things are happening," they said. "The human is acting differently. The girl has been missing from her duties." Daniel tried to keep calm, but inside he knew the truth. The hidden message had changed everything. It was no longer just stolen glances or silent encounters. It was a choice, a bond, a defiance against every rule the colony believed in. He looked at the wall before sleeping, the two markers glowing faintly. His rough and plain stood side by side, and Daniel thought, "This is where it begins. This is where we fight the lie." And somewhere in the colony, Lyra whispered his name to herself, holding onto the hope that their hidden messages would one day become words, spoken freely, not in fear but in love. The colony's silence was heavy, heavier than ever. Daniel walked through the narrow paths with his head down, pretending to be just another worker. Yet in his chest a storm raged. He thought about the glowing mark Lyra had left, the reply he had carved, and the way her trembling fingers had touched his hand for only a second. That second was enough to change everything, but the danger grew with each passing day. Whispers became sharper. "The human is restless," they said. "The girl disappears at night." The alien council noticed too. Their cold eyes searched the crowds, looking for signs of disobedience. Daniel knew he could not meet Liara in the open anymore. He needed a place hidden, far from curious eyes. So one night after the last lights of the market went dark, he waited near the edge of the colony. His heart pounded with every shadow. He did not know if she would come or if the risk was too great. Then he saw her. Liara moved like a ghost through the night. Her silver markings glowed faintly beneath her hood. She stopped when she saw him, her chest rising and falling with quick breaths. For a long moment neither spoke, the weight of danger pressing around them. Finally, Daniel whispered, "You came." Liara's voice was low, almost breaking. "I should not. If they catch us, I know." Daniel cut in. His voice shook, but his eyes were steady. "But I had to see you." Her eyes softened, and for the first time she lowered her hood completely. The pale glow of her skin lit the shadows. She looked fragile yet strong, terrified yet unyielding. "My name on your lips," she whispered. "It made me feel alive. I could not stay away." Daniel stepped closer, his breath uneven. "Then let's stop hiding in half words. Tell me, Lara, do you feel what I feel?" Her silver eyes filled with fear, but also with fire. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice trembling, "I was taught since birth that love for a human is impossible. They told me it was shame, weakness, a curse. But every time I see you, my chest burns, my thoughts scatter. I cannot stop it. I cannot deny it." Her words hit Daniel like thunder. His chest ached with relief and danger. Together, he wanted to hold her, to pull her close, but fear chained his hands. "Then we are already breaking their law," he said quietly. "Because I feel the same." Liara's breath caught. For a second, her trembling hand lifted, almost reaching for him, but before she could, a sharp sound split the silence. The creak of footsteps on the rocks nearby. Her eyes widened, panic flooding her face. She pulled her hood up. "Someone is here," she whispered. Her voice shook. "We must leave now." Daniel grabbed her wrist lightly, desperate. "Wait, Liara, when can I see you again?" She hesitated, her silver eyes darting. Her lips trembled. Then she whispered quickly, "Tomorrow night near the old river bridge. No one goes there anymore." And before Daniel could answer, she slipped away, melting into the shadows like smoke. Daniel stood alone, his chest heavy with fear and hope. The sound of the distant footsteps still echoed. Whoever had been there might have seen something, might have guessed, but Daniel did not care anymore. The secret was out between them, now spoken in trembling voices under the night sky. The next day, Daniel worked in silence. His mind burned with thoughts of the meeting. He replayed her words again and again. "I cannot stop it. I cannot deny it." Each time it made his heart race. Each time he felt the weight of the danger heavier. That evening, whispers in the colony grew louder. "The human walks at night," they muttered. "The girl is missing again." The alien council gathered in the hall, their eyes sharp as blades. Daniel felt them watching him, judging him, waiting for him to slip. But when night fell, Daniel did not hesitate. He walked toward the abandoned river bridge. His hands shook, his chest thundered. Every shadow felt like an enemy, every sound like a spy. Yet he kept going because Lyra had asked him to. When he reached the bridge, the night was silent. The broken stones stretched over the dry riverbed. Daniel waited, fear crawling through his skin. Then at last she appeared. Liara stepped out of the shadows, her hood down, her silver markings glowing faintly in the moonlight. "You came." Daniel breathed. "I said I would," Liara whispered. Her voice carried both courage and fear. "But this is madness. Daniel, if they find us, it will not just be exile, it will be death." Daniel stepped closer, his eyes locked on hers. "And then let them try, because if love is a crime, I will still choose it. I will still choose you." Liara's lips parted, her breath shaking. For the first time, she did not pull away. For the first time, her trembling hand reached fully. Her fingers brushed his face soft, fragile, real. And in that dangerous moment, standing on the forgotten bridge, they broke the oldest rule of the colony, not with words, not with whispers, but with touch. The dangerous meeting had begun, and there was no turning back. The night at the river bridge stayed in Daniel and LT Unk and GT's heart like a fire that would never fade. For the first time he had felt Liara's touch, soft and real, touch that broke every law of her people. They had stood together under the stars, not as human and alien, but as two souls drawn to each other. But love, once seen, could not stay hidden forever. The colony had eyes everywhere. The whispers that once sounded like background noise now grew sharper. More dangerous people began to point, to question, to watch. Daniel felt it first at the workshop. As he carried a crate across the floor, he noticed silence fall. When he entered, workers turned their heads, whispering behind their hands. "It is him," one voice hissed. "Human who meets her at night." Daniel froze, his chest heavy. His secret was no longer safe. That evening Lyra did not come. Daniel waited near the bridge until the stars faded into dawn. His heart ached with fear. Was she caught? Was she punished? Or had she chosen to stay away? On the second night she appeared, but her eyes were filled with panic. She ran to him, her breath short. "They know," she whispered, her voice cracked. "Someone saw us. Someone told the council." Daniel's blood ran cold. "What did they say?" Lyra's hands trembled. "They warned me. They said if I am seen with you again, I will be exiled. They said you will be cast out too, maybe worse." Her voice broke into a sob. She tried to swallow. "Daniel, they are watching us every step, every word." Daniel's chest tightened with rage and fear. "Then let's leave this colony," he said. "Desperate kind, we can go far beyond their rules, beyond their whispers." But Liara shook her head violently, her silver eyes shining with tears. "It is not that simple. My people do not forgive. They will chase us. They will not stop until one of us is broken." Her words cut him deep. The hope of freedom shattered like glass. Yet Daniel could not let go. He held her trembling hands. "Then let them come, Lyra. I would rather face them all than live without you." For a moment her tears softened into something else, a fragile smile. Her lips trembled. "Daniel, you do not know how much I wanted to hear that," she whispered. But their fragile peace lasted only moments, because the sound of heavy steps came from the shadows. Daniel turned sharply. Two figures stood at the edge of the bridge, alien guards, their eyes sharp and cold. Liara gasped, her face pale. "No," the guards stepped forward, their voices filled with accusation. "So it is true. The alien girl and the human worker." Daniel moved instinctively, stepping in front of Lara. His chest burned. "Lead her out of this," he growled. But the guards sneered. "She has broken the oldest law, and you, human, have poisoned her. The council will decide your fate." Lara's breath shook. Her voice trembled but rose with courage. "You are wrong," she said. "This is not poison. This is not crime. It is real. It is love." The guards froze for a moment, shocked at her boldness, but their silence broke into cruel laughter. "You dare speak that word?" they spat. "Love between alien and human. It is madness. It is filth." Daniel's fist clenched, his rage burned, but Liara pulled his hand softly, whispering, "Do not fight, not now." The guards turned away, but not before one of them spoke coldly. "Tomorrow you will stand before the council, both of you, and the Colony will see the punishment when they were gone. Daniel felt the weight of betrayal crush him. Someone had followed them. Someone had told the council their secret was no longer theirs. The whole colony would soon know. Lyra's knees weakened. Daniel caught her before she fell. Her tears shimmered against his chest. I am sorry, she whispered. This is my fault. If I had stayed away. Daniel lifted her face, his eyes fierce. Do not say that. Lyra, this is not your fault. They are blind. They are afraid of something stronger than their laws. But even as he said the words, fear clawed inside him. Tomorrow they would stand before the council. Their love would be judged not as truth but as crime, and in front of everyone, the colony would demand proof that aliens could not love humans. Yet, deep in his heart, Daniel knew the truth had already been proven. In her trembling voice, in her glowing eyes, in the way she had risked everything just to be near him, Liara had already broken the lie. She had already proven them wrong. As the night faded into dawn, Daniel held her hand tighter, whispering, no matter what happens, tomorrow you are not alone. I will stand with you always. And for the first time, Lyra did not tremble. She leaned into him, her voice quiet but steady. Then let them see us. Let them see what they fear most. The betrayal had set the stage. Tomorrow their hearts would be placed on trial. Morning came heavy over the colony. The air felt different, thick with tension. Everyone whispered. Everyone stared. The news had spread. The human and the alien girl had been caught. Today the council would judge them. Daniel walked with chains around his wrists, guarded by 2 alien soldiers beside him. Liara walked silently, her head bowed. Her glowing lines were dim, as if her body itself had been shamed. But Daniel saw more than shame in her eyes. He saw fire. Council Hall was carved from stone, vast and cold. Its high walls carried echoes of every law that had ruled the colony for centuries. At the center sat the elders, their faces stern and unforgiving. Their eyes burned into Daniel and Lyra as they were pushed forward. Bring them before us, one elder said, his voice sharp as steel. The girl who betrayed her kind and the human who poisoned her heart. Gasps filled the room. Aliens crowded the hall, workers, traders, guards, all curious, all eager to witness punishment. Their whispers cut like knives. It is true, they hissed. The human touched her. She let him. She dared to break the oldest law. Daniel felt the weight of those words pressing on him, but he refused to lower his head. Instead he stood tall, his eyes unflinching. Liara, trembling at first, lifted her chin too. She would not be broken so easily. The eldest among them rose, his voice cold and heavy. Alien hearts cannot love humans. It has been known since the beginning. It is against blood, against nature, against the order of stars. You stand here accused of lying against the truth of our kind. The crowd murmured in agreement. Some shouted cruel words. Exile them, destroy him. She is unclean. Daniel's fists tightened, but before he could speak, Liara's voice broke the noise, clear and trembling. If alien hearts cannot love humans, she said, her voice carrying across the hall, then why does mine race when he is near? Why do I feel pain when he suffers? Why does my chest burn with fear at losing him? Silence fell for a moment. The crowd froze, shocked by her boldness. The elder slammed his staff. Lies, he spat. You are confused, deceived by human tricks. His presence has poisoned your mind. No, Liara cried, her voice cracked but grew stronger. It is not poison, it is truth. I tried to fight it, I tried to obey, but I cannot deny what my heart feels. Her silver eyes shone with tears. I love him, gasps erupted, some shouted in anger, some in disbelief. Impossible, shame, blasphemy. Daniel's chest burned as he looked at her. The courage in her trembling voice lit his soul. He could no longer stay silent. He stepped forward, his chains clinking. His voice rang out. You call it poison. You call it shame, but tell me what crime is love, what threat is two hearts beating for each other. The crowd roared, some shouted for silence, others cursed him. The elders glared, their eyes sharp as blades. You dare speak of love? The eldest snarled. Do you think your human words can break centuries of law? This is not your world, human. You are nothing but dust here. Daniel's voice did not falter. Then why does your law fear us so much? He shouted. His voice echoed in the chamber. If love is impossible, why do you chain us? Why do you put us on trial? You fear the truth, because the truth is standing right here beside me. Lyra's trembling hand slipped into his. Gasps filled the air. For the first time, they stood together before everyone, not hiding, not whispering, but defying the law with touch. The elders' eyes blazed. Enough, he roared. You have confessed your crime. Before all, the punishment will be decided. You will not walk free. You will not stain our people further. The guard stepped forward, but the crowd was no longer silent. Murmurs rose, some confused, some uncertain. Did you hear her? One whispered, she spoke of love. Another said, and he did not deny it. For the first time, doubt cracked through the colony's walls. The council saw it too, and their rage grew. This ends now, the elder commanded. At dawn tomorrow, judgment will be carried out. The guards dragged Daniel and Lyra back, but even as the chains pulled them apart, their hands clung together for one last moment. Their eyes locked. Their love had been spoken, and no chains could take that away. That night, in the dark cell, Daniel sat beside Lyra. Her face was pale, but her eyes glowed with quiet fire. We are not alone anymore, she whispered. They all heard us. They cannot unhear it. Daniel nodded, his voice steady. Whatever happens tomorrow, Lyra, the lie is broken. They will never see us the same again. And as the night stretched heavy with fear, one truth stood unshaken. Their hearts had stood trial, and even in chains they had already won. Dawn came heavy, the sky painted in pale gray, as if the world itself mourned. The colony gathered near the council square. A trial had been held, words had been spoken, and now judgment would fall. Daniel and Lyra stood in chains, their hands bound, their faces pale but unbroken. The elder council sat high above the crowd, their voices cold. This is the end of lies, the eldest declared. This is the end of shame. The alien girl has defied the blood of her kind. The human has dared to poison her heart. Their punishment will be a warning to all. The crowd muttered, some cheered for punishment, others stayed quiet, uncertain. Attention hung in the air, thick as stone. Daniel and LT Lunk and GT's eyes searched for Liara. She stood beside him, trembling but holding her head high. Her silver markings glowed faintly in the early light. I am not afraid, she whispered, though her voice cracked. Daniel leaned closer, his own voice steady. I will not let them break you. The guards stepped forward, raising their staffs. The punishment was moments away, but before the first strike could Fall, a sound tore through the air, and alarm, the crowd gasped, heads turned. Smoke rose in the distance, flames burst. From the colony's food stores, screams echoed, chaos erupted as people rushed toward the fire. The council shouted for order, but the guards hesitated. Duty pulled them away. The fire spread fast, threatening homes, threatening lives. Panic gripped the colony. In that moment, Daniel saw an opening. The guards' hold loosened as they turned their eyes to the disaster. With a surge of strength, Daniel broke free from their grasp. His wrists bled against the chains, but he pushed forward. Lyra stumbled beside him, her eyes widened. Daniel, no, he said firmly. We can help them. We can show them what they refused to see. Without waiting for permission, Daniel ran straight into the fire, his body shielded from the heat. Only by sheer will, he pulled down burning beams, dragged children from collapsing homes. His voice roared commands, guiding terrified families to safety. The crowd watched in shock. Human, the one they had called outsider, was saving them, risking his life for them. Liara did not hesitate either. She rushed into the flames, her glowing hands pressed against burning metal. Her body bore the heat, and she pulled the weak and wounded out of danger, her voice trembling with fear. The night before now carried strength this way. Follow me. Together, human and alien fought the fire. Daniel's hands blistered, his chest burned with smoke. But he did not stop. Liara's markings glowed brighter, shimmering as she pushed herself beyond her limits. Finally, after what felt like hours, the flames died. The colony stood in silence, watching the two collapse onto the ground, coughing, gasping, but alive. Around them, children wept in their mothers' arms. Families clung to each other. Lives had been saved, not by laws, not by the council, but by the ones they had condemned. The elder council rose, their faces pale with disbelief. One of them shouted, "Do not be fooled. This does not erase their crime." But the crowd no longer listened. A worker stepped forward, his voice trembling. "He saved my child." Another cried out, "She carried my sister." Through the fire, murmurs spread, voices grew stronger. They risked everything. For us, is that crime? Daniel, weak but standing, raised his voice. "You said aliens cannot love humans. You said it was a lie. Then look at her. Look at what she did. She risked her life for me, and I for her. Is that not proof enough?" Liara's silver eyes burned with tears. She stepped forward, her chains clinking. "I am not poisoned. I am not cursed. I chose him. I love him. And today I loved all of you enough to save you too." Silence swept the crowd. Hearts trembled for the first time. No one shouted. No one cursed. The whispers that had haunted Daniel since the beginning were gone. The eldest counselor's staff shook, but his voice faltered. The law they had guarded for centuries crumbled in front of truth. The people no longer feared love. They had seen it with their own eyes. One by one, the guards lowered their staffs. The chains around Daniel and Liara were unlocked, not by mercy, but by pressure. From the crowd, the people had chosen what the council could not deny. Daniel and Liara stood free, their hands clasped tight. The sun rose higher, painting them in gold. The colony had seen the proof. Love was no longer forbidden whisper. It was real, undeniable, unbreakable. And though the path ahead would still be hard, Daniel knew one thing: nothing would ever be the same. And Lara had proven them Wrong, she had proven that even in a galaxy of fear and rules, love was stronger than all.